This is Nothing Coherent. I'm Brandon.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Ryan.
So in this week's episode, we're going to be covering Star Wars Episode 9.
Woo!
Disney Plus has announced their streaming service.
Woohoo!
Also, Mandalorian footage leaked, which I watched.
Woohoo!
Ryan is actually dead inside, even more so than now, so he's kind of just... That was all you're going to hear from him for the next hour. He'll be back when Episode 9 talks come around. So, Zach, I'll let you start out with what you've been watching and playing.
Okay. Well, I'll start with what I've been watching because today is April 14th and Game of Thrones starts back up tonight.
Woohoo!
And I've never seen Game of Thrones until now. And in the last 2 weeks, I've watched the first 3 seasons. So, like, I got to catch up. But everybody's going crazy about it. I saw the Red Wedding, and I got very emotional. It was rough. This show is really good. Like, everybody kept telling me, you'll like it, you'll like it, you'll like it. And I went all this time without seeing it. But, like, I always heard about how, like, George R. Martin would write characters and, like, you would get attached to them and then they would be stripped away from you. And I was like, I don't really see that yet apart from, like, Ned Stark in Season 1. I was like, there hasn't been a character death that, like,
wow.
I really, really cared about. But then the Red Wedding happened, and I was like, wow, this show does not play around with, like, how a character can just be dead all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think the first few seasons are so hard to watch.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, the show overall is just, like, one of those I always hold a special place in my heart.
It's getting better as I watch it.
I do agree that Ned was the death that, like, solidified, hey, there is no justice in this world.
Right.
Like, anyone can die. And the Red Wedding, I agree, was the moment where you're like, you sat there and you're like, oh.
Well, like, that was the moment that I heard about without having even watched the show. And they were like, oh, yeah, they killed, like, the king and his mom and his, like, pregnant wife. And I was like, holy crap. Like,
yeah,
that's brutal.
I remember watching Fallon one night, and they were showing clips of people reacting to the Red Wedding. I had no idea what it was,
yeah,
but I knew what episode it was in, so when it started to happen and they were having the wedding, I was like, oh, no. I was like, no. I was like, no, they can't die. I was like, this is no. And then it happens, and I was like, I, like, sat there, jaw dropped, because I was like...
Filch from Harry Potter became the most evil person I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah, I hated him so much. Walter Frey is, like, one of my least favorite characters.
Like, it's like Joffrey, and then him, and then
Cersei,
and then the guy who's been torturing Theon.
No, I don't know. Theon's torture was justified.
No, like, there is some things that you shouldn't do to a person, though.
I don't know. He betrayed Robb.
He did, but at the same time, at least Theon shows guilt for his actions in this show.
Well, that's because he's been tortured. Then he's guilty.
No, even before that, like...
Well, because
Robb... I'm not going to spoil anything for you.
Right.
But, like, he starts to reimburse himself, and then he fails us again.
Oh my gosh, yeah, every time you're like, you're doing something good, Theon.
Season 7, you're like, come
on,
buddy.
Ship.
I feel really bad for him because, like,
that's funny.
At the end of the 3rd season, like, Ramses, like, is making fun of him and he renames him Reek.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I was like, this is so sad. Like, I may not like you as a person, but I have compassion for people because that was the whole storyline for him in season 3 was just being tortured the entire time.
Yeah, there were moments that, like, I remember.
Got old a little bit.
Yeah, I think that dragged on a bit, but
I was like, okay, I get it, and he's just doing it for the fun of it. Like, there's no reason to torture him. He's just doing it because...
Well, originally it was because they were supposed to take back
Winterfell,
and so he was torturing him because he betrayed the Starks and betrayed their alliance. So, like, that made sense. Like, when
part of it's because he's such a pansy, too.
Yeah.
That, like, literally he just enjoyed torturing.
Well, then he wanted to show dominance. It was
right.
like... Ramsay is such a masochist. Like...
Yeah. I really like Jon Snow a lot in that show. He's quickly becoming my favorite. It used to be Tyrion, and I'll probably go back and forth on that a lot.
You're going to have a moment in Season 4 where Tyrion becomes your favorite again for a moment.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. There's not a whole lot of characters I don't like, but the ones that I don't like are going to be around forever, I feel. I'm like, Cersei's going to be around forever. I feel like Joffrey's reign of terror will never end, even though I know that he dies on that show, just because I remember the internet freaking out when he finally died.
It wasn't... It needed to be worse.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. They were like, what? That's his death? Like, that sucks. And I'm like, well, I mean, how else would you kill the king?
When you find out who kills him.
Yeah. I have no idea who
Yeah,
does
because
it.
that mystery goes on for a long
Yeah,
time.
you don't find that out until season 7.
Wow.
Well, you think you know, and it's
Well-
kind of alluded towards a lot, and then it's like season 7's like,
Yeah.
this is who it is, and you're like,
Mhm.
So
okay.
Zach, you really just need to get caught up so we can
I'm-
talk about all this
I'm
stuff.
going to get caught up. Don't worry. Like, because next week is Easter. So we
Yeah, so just for, I guess we'll go over it again later. We won't have an episode next week. Well, we will, but like
we're
if any
recording
news,
2 today.
if any news drops during the week or trailers, and it's like comes out during next week, it's not happening because we're filming an MCU episode in dedication for
In-game.
Because when we come back for our next official episode,
In-game will have come
in-game
out.
will be out, and that will be our topic. But so just so you're like when the next anyway, we'll talk about it more though at the
Yeah.
end of this and
But,
the next one.
Okay, so basically, watching Game of Thrones made me want to go back and play Skyrim some. I was like, I'm going to play Skyrim, and I like...
You're like nobody dies here, everybody's nice and
Yep.
loving.
But I'm just playing... I'm just running around with a shield and using a shield for the first time in Skyrim. It's actually really overpowered, surprisingly, just using one-handed and a shield. I did not realize that going into it. I killed the dragon at Whiterun really, really easily with
Just
just
a
using
shield?
using the shield and the
Wow.
using the shield and an axe. Yeah,
Huh.
No. Yeah.
and
Just like button it with it.
I would
Shield.
butt him with the shield and it would cause him to stagger, and then I would just stab him, and I was like, or cut him, and I just took him down because I'm playing with a Nord this time, and they level up combat for like one-handed and blocking super fast. My
Most of
one-hand
my characters are
skill,
the Nords.
yeah, my one-handed skill
Yeah,
is
honestly, I don't know if I haven't played any other class.
level, like the skill level is like 40 for one-handed right now, so I've just been putting it all into the axe, which does like bleed damage
got,
over
like,
time.
Massive jacked arm.
Oh yeah,
His right arm's just huge.
yeah, no, but and then because I have an Xbox One and I was looking at games that were backwards compatible, I saw that Fable Anniversary and Fable 2 and Fable 3 were backwards compatible.
I love that series.
Which if you have Game Pass, Fable 2 and 3 are on there.
Yeah. So I was at GameStop and they had Fable Anniversary for $10. I was like, I should try that. And I did, and I'm really enjoying the game. I've gotten pretty far into it. I was at the arena where you team up with Whisper and you fight against just different waves of enemies. And then I was given the option to kill her or to spare her, and I spared her because I'm playing a good character.
Oh, yeah. Honestly, at the end
I
of the
want to go
day,
through and do an evil run next.
this is the problem with the Fable franchise. The morale choices really don't matter at the end of the day.
Really?
Yeah, they want you to believe they do. And I mean, yeah, your character will do or look different depending on what
Sure.
happens. But like the
Story's
story they're
the story,
telling you
yeah.
is still
It's
the same.
pretty
It's just
linear.
how the
Yeah,
it's
it's
just
felt
how the
like
characters
that.
treat you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, like overall, that's my biggest problem with Fable and Infamous too. Like I
Yeah.
feel like the ending. There's a canon ending, and then there's the
Infamous
hey,
does feel the same way.
You can get this ending if you want, but it's not the canonical one.
Yeah. But I think that game came out in what, like 2002?
So it's
It came out early
it's-
2000s.
Yeah, it's.
It was on the original Xbox.
It came out like super close to Xbox's launch.
Yeah. So like, my brother played it as a kid, and I just never did because I had PS2, and we were just like, "You don't touch my console." I'm like, "Okay, whatever. I don't really care."
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm finally playing it because I've just been asking people, "Is it a series worth trying out?" And I'm really enjoying it. Like, for a game that's as old as it is, it still looks really good,
2004.
and it plays really well. Wow, that game is 15 years old.
I should have guessed that before you said that.
But yeah, I've been playing that, and I'm pleasantly surprised by the way the combat works and everything. Because I was like, "This is gonna feel really dated." It doesn't.
At that, especially at that time, like that was one of the top
Yeah.
tier games.
I always heard it was really good for its time, and I can see why. There was one mission where I got stuck, and I was getting super frustrated. It's where you have to sneak into Twin Blades camp. That was so bad.
You're playing the anniversary one, right?
I'm playing Anniversary with the
Yeah,
Lost
that came out in
Chapters.
2014,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a lot of stuff is improved and fixed in it. Because the first Fable game, I remember not
I
loving
remember
it.
I remember my brother complaining that there were bugs all the time.
Yeah,
and I was
it-
like,
Fable. That's why I remember liking Fable 2 more. But like I
Yeah.
haven't played them in Gosh, Fable 2 came out in
I
2008.
Yeah.
I remember the game, but I don't remember like the
Yeah,
story.
I want
or
Fable
anything.
4 has been rumored forever. So
Dude,
Yeah, I was
remember
about to
when-
mention that. Like I've read.
I
things
remember
here
when
and there
Fable
about
2
that.
came out, and that was the game that finally got my brother to stop playing Halo 3 with me, like on the weekends, because that's all we would do. We would play Halo 3 like nonstop, or we would play like different games on like PS2 together. And like when Fable 2 came out, he was like, "Oh no, I gotta play Fable." And I was like,
yeah, they
okay.
gave us 2 posters, and me and my brother each had them next to the bed,
"Yeah,
and it was like the cover art. And every night I would just be like, "You're so close, you're so close," and we'd fight over the Xbox because like we both just wanted to play Fable 2. Like Fable
Yeah.
2, looking back on it, is nowhere near as good as like I remember because I tried it the other day on Xbox Game Pass because I see it with the rose-colored glasses.
sure."
Still a good game, but like what I remember it being and what it is 2 completely different things. So I like turned it off and I was like, I always want to have that memory of how much I loved it and not ruin it by how great it is not right now.
Yeah, but that's pretty much what I've been doing the last 2 weeks is just catching up on Game of Thrones and then trying out Fable and then playing some Skyrim. So,
Promise Neverland ended. We did not actually talk
That's
about episode
right.
12.
um,
So this is just episode 12. We're going to wait till after the Toonami run before we talk about
Right.
maybe like a full spoiler. But overall, great episode. Like,
that is the
great
best-
finale.
Mhm.
When the music plays when they're running
Yeah,
is so good.
it's really good.
Every character is great. Seeing more of Isabella's backstory was
right.
great too.
That to me was really good because like you have to wonder with those characters like why are you doing what you're doing, and it's like, well, you have an option, you can live or you can die.
Yeah.
And it's like, if I was put in that situation, what would I choose? I have no idea. And to me, I'm like, we haven't seen if there's any like male adults yet either. So I'm just like, is there a chance for male characters to live past that age or
Yeah.
not? Because we haven't seen them. We've only seen Sister Crone's backstory and how she grew up, and now Isabella's. And I'm like, something's going on. Like, and I'm so interested in the entire world, and like, they're only just now starting to broaden the horizons right as it goes to break for making season 2. And I'm just like, I want that series to just keep getting better and better because I haven't gotten that attached to characters in an anime in quite a while.
Yeah. Seeing Ray and Norman and Emma were just such
Yeah.
like a great trio of characters. I
They're
love.
all so good, and then like you're just watching these characters and you're hoping that they succeed because the stakes are so high for children.
Yeah.
Like I've never seen characters tested in that way before, at least in terms of like them being like 11 years old. You know, like you're like, wow. I don't think I've cared that much about like a child protagonist since the first time I played Earthbound, and I was super invested in like the story of Ness and Colony
and Pooh.
and Pooh. Like I was just like, wow, these characters to me are just super interesting. I'm fascinated with them. They're all unique in their own way. Each character has their own goals and their own motivation for why they do what they do, and they're all fleshed out, which is really rare for a 12-episode series. Like usually you have like your villains, and then you have like maybe 1 or 2 characters who are super fleshed out. I think of One Punch Man, where like you have Saitama and you have Genos, and that's like really it for characters that get super super in depth.
Yeah. So leading into that,
I know you watched One Punch Man.
One Punch Man season 2 started back. Did you watch it?
I did not.
I haven't either.
Man, it's not great. I mean, I was really downvoted on Reddit for this. I don't really understand why. The fights are really cut away. Like, it doesn't really show it. The animation is real rough.
See that like
I think
Which
the-
normally
this
is
is
not...
a show that would be easy to pick up because the plot lines are very thin.
Yeah.
The like as long as you're having the same voice actors, like you're gonna have at least somewhat of the personality traits that
Right.
the characters have, which is barely anything, to be
The
honest.
big thing was how they switched
Yeah.
different animation studios.
Yeah, the studio
so
switched.
if the animation looks different,
It looks
It
way
does.
different.
yeah.
Not. I think if you watched it, I mean, like if you watched One Punch Man back when it aired and then watch this, maybe you wouldn't think about it. But the
Yeah.
minute somebody shows you a side by side, because that's what happened with me, I watched the side by side and I was like, oh. So like my problem really is the characters are still there, like it's still got the same humor, still that, but the action and the animation are just like I watched that show for the fights.
Yeah.
For like the funny fights, and it just doesn't look that way, and it cuts away from the fights a lot.
I'll have to give it a chance.
I've heard that the first episode is where all their budget went, so that's very terrifying. If that was all of their budget was for that episode because it was not
Yeah.
great.
I might wait a few episodes in and then watch like 3 or 4.
It's also hard because I prefer the dub, and it's just
the
it's
sub.
just Japanese right now, and so
Yeah, I did too. I
for
watched,
something that's already not keeping my attention, not being able to like just zone out when I need to.
Yeah, because I watched the rest of one in Japanese.
Yeah.
So I just read
So
it.
for you, it might not be
yeah.
like, but that's like my problem with Mob Psycho.
But I love the dub version
Yeah.
a lot more when I
Yeah, I
watched
think
it
the
with you
dub
guys,
version is
so.
actually superior.
like Mob Psycho. Everyone keeps talking about how amazing season 2 is, and I just can't watch it until the dub's out because I just can't focus.
Well, the voice
Yeah.
actors though, like bring out the humor a lot better when you can hear it.
Right, and
Which
it's
is, I mean, that's
Right,
part
you
of the
can
joke. So I
understand
mean,
it.
obviously, if you're reading it, like you don't know the tone exactly. Like, yeah, you're watching the animation, but
Yeah,
it's
no,
not,
that
not
reminds
exactly
me
the
of like
same.
when the My Hero Academia movie came out and we saw that.
yeah.
Like, I don't know if I would have laughed at the jokes as much if they were all in Japanese.
Right, and everything's Americanized too to an extent.
Right.
Like the jokes are like a little tweaked or something. So
Right,
they
they have to rewrite the joke in a certain
For
way.
culture.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think of just some of the stuff Grape Juice says in the anime and the Japanese version compared to the U.S. And I'm like, this is funnier to me in the Western adaptation of it just because, well, I'm from the West.
Yeah.
Right.
So the other animes I want to touch on is I paid for Funimation Now just so I could watch the dub of a certain series, which I'll get to in a second because it's a big deal. The other one is a new series called Demon Slayer something Kaiba. It's like I didn't even write it down because it's like all Japanese.
Seto Kaiba?
No, I wish. The premise is this boy goes to town. It's like feudal Japan, like really old. Goes to town. While he's gone, a demon comes and kills his family and possesses his sister. And basically, he meets a demon slayer and begs the demon slayer to train him so he can like help his sister out and free her of the demon. It's actually really good. I don't know how good it'll be. The first episode was really dark, but the animation is like beautiful. The music's awesome. It feels incredible. Like I'm so excited to watch more of it, but I'm worried that it's not going to live up to whatever expectations I've made in my head. Mm-hmm. But overall, I do really like it. It's on Hulu, but I'm watching on Funimation Now since I'm paying for that for what is going to be, for anyone who knows, they're going to be like, what is wrong with you? But I am paying for Funimation Now exclusively for the Fruits Basket dub because I've waited 18 years for a reboot series. So this is for example, this is the FMA Brotherhood version of Fruits Basket.
Okay.
Where the original anime, the manga was still ongoing, and then they made a weird ending cut where people were like, that's fine, but, there's got to be a second season.
Yeah.
But I guess the original manga creator hated the first anime so much that she said she would never let anyone else do it.
Yeah.
And so eventually people weared her down. They're like, look, you can be a director on it and have oversight, and say whatever you want about it. And so she did. So, I mean, so far it's really good. They got most of the original voices back. I'm not to the point where I think any of the new voices came in. It is a shoujo, which it's a romance, but it played in the Shonen Jump, or a Shonen Jump spinoff. Mm-hmm. The premise is this girl named Toru, her mom died. She was living with her grandpa, but their house needs remodeled, so she's like, I can take care of myself, and she lives in the woods. But this family at school named the Somas, invite her to live with them. It's basically like comedy and sewers, but the premise of it is if she hugs, if the Somas get hugged by somebody of the opposite gender, they turn into one of the animals of the zodiac. So they're all cursed. It's kind of weird, but I also like it. It's hard to explain. Trying to describe the premise of somebody is yeah, but it's not. Yeah, it's my shameful. I love it. It's my guilty pleasure. I also have been watching The Twilight Zone.
Okay.
The first 3 episodes are out as of now. Mm-hmm. It's weird. I'm a huge fan of the original Twilight Zone, and
I've actually never seen a single episode of the
my
original
gosh, it
Twilight
is
Zone.
so good. The first episode and the third episode were only okay. The first episode was very predictable, which I hated because I want to be surprised. The third episode kind of had that feeling too, except it was weird. I felt like that one was more of a message about, I don't know, I want to say racism. It is about racism at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. But it didn't feel like an episode of The Twilight Zone as much of hey, this is it's straight racism and dealing with that. The second episode, though, was a guy gets on a plane finds a podcast of the podcast predicting everything that happened on the plane, like
Huh.
of the plane going down. And so he like freaks out the entire episode. It's really good. It's got Adam Scott, Ben Wyatt from Parks and Rec, and I think he does great in it. Because I mean, like, what would you? He shows like how he gets more and more paranoid as like they reveal things as it goes on.
Yeah, closer to that.
Because it's like here's like the last 30 minutes of the plane ride, and like it shows the time he's like freaking out over and over. I thought it was good. I mean, I like the series, and Jordan Peele is doing it, and he's like the
good.
He's the narrator / host. Like he begins
Yeah.
and ends every episode, and so like it's cool to see him. And like
I've been really curious about the Twilight Zone. Like,
Yeah.
if it was going to come out pretty good, but I figured when you do something like that, like and you remake something like that, I mean, it's not. People take it, I feel like, a lot more to heart. when
Yeah,
making
this
something
was
like
a
that.
big deal. Like
Yeah.
like the Twilight Zone is held to such high regard.
Right. Like, I've always heard Twilight Zone is one of the best series you could ever watch. So for me, I'm just like, okay, well, maybe I'll watch it at some point. And then I heard Jordan Peele is doing one, and now that I've seen Get Out and Us, I'm like, those movies feel like they could have been Twilight Zone episodes from what people have told me. So I'm just like, maybe I should watch his version of the Twilight Zone.
And it's good. I don't know how many episodes it'll run, and I don't know if when it ends.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what I would do. I'm not paying for CBS, but my family is,
Yeah.
so I'm just using their login. Because if I was paying for it, I don't know if I would pay
Just for that.
just for the Twilight Zone. Now, granted, I would watch Star Trek if that was the case, because
Yeah.
I'd feel like I have to justify it.
Mm-hmm.
Which I do want to watch. I'll eventually probably watch Discovery because I've heard it's really good.
Yeah, that's what I keep hearing.
But I mean, like overall, I enjoy the Twilight Zone. It's had its peaks, but like even at its lowest, I don't think it's bad. What else did I watch? Talk about One Punch Man, Fruits Basket. Okay, 2 more things. So I watched 2 movies. Besides, actually, hold on, we watched X-Men the other night.
That's right, we did.
Last night, my fiance had never seen the original X-Men, and I
I just happened to stop by.
Yeah, we were talking about Dark Phoenix, because I was like, well, I guess if you're going to see it, because I'm going to see it no matter what, because that's just who I am. But I was like, if you're going to see it with me, we might as well get you all caught up. And I was like, you should see what kicked off, though, the superhero boom. Like, that started all this. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
granted, Iron Man and Dark Knight, like, carried it even more. But, like, X-Men was the one. X-Men and Blade were, like, the two that, like, started it.
I would say Spider-Man raised it to newer heights at the time.
Yeah, like, because Batman and Superman raised it, and then with Batman and Robin and Superman 4, they crashed.
Right.
And so it was more like, it's had its ups and downs, but, like, it started to, like, just continue
Tobey
to up.
Maguire did it all.
The Hugh Jackman
Excuse
and
me,
Wesley
Hugh Jackman's
Snipes
Wolverine.
are,
No,
like, what
Tobey
started
Maguire.
Halle Berry's Catwoman is... No, I can't even finish that joke.
Sorry, I just threw up on the floor back here.
Well, it's not the first time somebody's thrown up in this studio, so...
But, I mean, like, it's bad. It was, for its time, it was all right, and I understand, but, like, watching it now, and basically, part of the problem was the Nostalgia Critic video, pointing out everything, and I was like, yeah, I just didn't think about it back then, or even, like...
Right, like, I still try not to think about that when I'm watching certain movies, because, like, I allow myself to have some suspension of disbelief, but, like, there were some moments where it was, like, you could clearly tell, like, they were pulling a actor away,
Yeah.
like, when they got hit. Like, they didn't even try to hide it, like, in the train station when Sabretooth, like, gets punched through the wall.
Oh my gosh.
And he just, like, gets dragged as if he's, like, in one of the Paranormal Activity movies or
One of
something.
the worst is when they hit that tree at the beginning with...
Oh, and Logan
Wolverine
flies through the
Well, so
windshield.
it cuts real quick, and you can see the rag doll that they, or like the body double, and so like really quickly, and so it just looks terrible as it's like flying across the
but
screen. I'm
also,
just like,
like,
oh.
He hadn't even moved yet, and like they actually specifically cut to the van completely stopped. It's not like it's still moving and he like is moving with the momentum. Like his van comes to a complete stop after hitting the tree. It cuts, and then we see him fly through the windshield. And I'm like, if that was all in one motion, it would have looked so much better, and you would have at least been able to hide that we saw the dummy. Like we just looked and we looked at each other and we laughed. But the weirdest moment was when Wolverine was fighting Mystique and she escapes to like climb up the pipe backwards. I'd completely forgotten about that.
That was so stupid.
I was like, that is so weird. And then, of course, Toad has his little dance.
Oh yeah, where he's
Like-
fighting them and he starts dancing.
He fights all 3 of them, and I got so mad. I was like,
It's so
Cyclops
frustrating.
should not have a problem fighting Toad. He's the leader of the X-Men, and he's losing to one of Magneto's like weakest goons, the weakest of the 3.
Yeah, they
Like-
did. They did not Magneto. They did Cyclops dirty.
Cyclops has been done dirty by Fox ever since the first one. I'll go on a rant right now. Like, we should probably move on.
So fun fact about Ian McKellen. No,
Ian McKellen.
yeah, Ian. I was telling him last night. So he was up for 2 parts. He was up for the role in Mission Impossible 2 as the villain,
Yep.
and he was up for the role in X-Men. Well, he took the X-Men role because the Mission Impossible, like, it was going to take too long to get to the filming.
Mm-hmm.
But if he had taken the Mission Impossible role, he also would have missed out on being Gandalf. He told that in an interview. He would have never been Magneto or Gandalf if he took Mission Impossible
Which
2.
I think are
Wow.
his 2 most defining roles,
Yeah.
personally. Like, when I think of Ian McKellen, I think of Gandalf, and then I think of Magneto.
Because even if Mission Impossible just would have been a one stop.
Yeah. Because he had just been the villain for one
Yeah.
movie.
I'm glad that he didn't do that because I don't think Mission Impossible 2 is very good.
It's trash.
Like,
It's trash.
I
Straight
think
up.
I think 1 is okay.
Second one's probably the worst one.
It is the
Yeah.
worst one.
Yeah.
I think 2 and 3 are not that great, but 2
1 and
is
3.
I like 1.
1 is as good as 3.
Yeah, but
They're all not. The first trilogy is
Right.
not that great.
but no, like the new trilogy is really good.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, 2 I remember being really bad.
Yeah. I did also see Shazam again. Still really like it. We said some things in our review of it that I should fix, but I don't really care enough. I definitely, because I was like listening to it again before I saw it, and I was like, wow, I cannot believe I said that. So, but overall, I do really like the movie. It is still slow, like, and then it just like kicks it in overdrive as soon as the villain shows up for like the final fights. Like, everything flew by at the end, but like
movie-
everything at the beginning I felt like just took forever.
I feel like that movie hasn't made as much money as I thought it would. At
I
this
knew
point.
the problem was like everyone wanted to be like, well, in-game won't really affect it, but selling tickets to in-game
Right.
the Tuesday before,
Right. I thought that would have an
Yeah.
effect because people like us, we're crazy. We buy tickets. Well, you did.
yeah,
You
like
bought like what, like 20 or 30 tickets?
for all 3 of my showings, it's like 32 tickets or something.
Right.
Like that.
And it's just like, that's insane. But there's people out there that are like that, and they're like, well, I can't see Shazam yet because I just spent $200 on tickets.
And we wouldn't have seen Dumbo if Avengers
Right.
tickets went on sale the week before.
Right.
So like that's what we talked about is like I got paid between then, and so like it didn't matter. But
But yeah, no, for most people,
um,
it's only made like, what, $110 million?
well, I don't know what the worldwide total is, but domestically it's only at like 70.
Which is really sad because I think it's the best one.
It needs to make 400 million to break even.
I don't think it will. With
No, I think needs to make 280.
I just don't, with it being this slow of a moving.
I think he'll make it. I think he'll be. I mean, it doesn't matter. After next week, it's over.
it's done. Like,
Its run will come to an end. Same thing with Captain Marvel, which keeps making like a bunch of money.
yeah, Captain Marvel is still like number 3 on the box office right now.
Well, no, it's lower than that, but it still makes like $6 million a week.
Yeah, but it's nuts. Like,
Okay, real quick though, I need to cover 2 more. Maria, I think that's how you pronounce it. I watched the movie. It's an anime film by one of my favorite anime directors, Hosoda. He's done other films like Summer Wars, Boy and the Beast, Wolf Children. They're all great films. I need to let you borrow them and watch them.
okay.
This one is about, I'm going to be very vague because I think I didn't know anything watching it. I think that's the best way to watch it. Basically, there's a little boy. His little sister is born. The boy's like 2, and there's a tree out in the yard that when he like visits it, he gets like visions from the future or the past. And so like his sister, who's now 16, comes to the past to try to help him because they need to fix something, which is one of the plots. There's a lot that happens, but it's really cool.
Birth.
It's really cool, and like I really like it. And then they also have like this thing where like they can't exist at the same time. Like if she goes into a room that her younger self is in, her younger self vanishes.
That's really weird, but kind of cool.
Yeah, I was like, that's cool. And there's a lot of things that happen in it. I was like, man, that's really awesome. It was up for best animated film
When did this come out?
last year. This was the one that lost to Spider-Man.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I really like it. I don't love it. I don't like it as much as some of his other ones, but it's not like Summer Wars is my favorite one of his, but that one's like a huge family tale and like action and really cool. But anyway, it's pretty good. It's only like an hour and 40 minutes.
It's not.
So the runtime isn't bad. And it just, sometimes while I was watching, I was like, man, I don't want kids. Because I was like, this boy is a little piece of crap. But
I feel
I mean,
that
like,
way after watching Game of Thrones, seeing Joffrey. So I'm like, that'll be.
what if
my
I bring
kid.
that into this world? But I mean, like, overall, I like that the
You
message is,
literally bring a Joffrey into this world.
you'll,
I'll kill him.
like Like overall, I did really like the movie. I strongly recommend it. I really want to talk about it more, but I feel like you should just watch it.
Yeah.
Because that's the best way to experience it.
Sure.
But if you like his work, if you like Summer Wars or Boy and the Beast or Wolf Children, you'll like it. I know I'm trying to get as close as we can to Star Wars talk. Okay, Pet Sematary. I saw that as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm actually curious.
Are you?
Yes.
I heard quite a bit the other day.
Yeah, I know it has not settled very well with people.
It's not good. It's weird, and I guess this makes sense because we were talking about
The little I've seen of it, it looks bad. But
So here's my thing. The reviews for it were pre the rest of the critics getting to see it was 85%. So I was like, that was as good as it 2017.
yeah.
So I was like, okay, the reviews are positive for it. It'll be good. And then I realized all those reviews came from like South by Southwest, which is the same people, the same group. They gave the remake of the Blair Witch Project 100% up until its release. Which that movie had like a 10 the night I saw it. And so watching it, I was like, man, nothing is happening in this movie. Nothing at all. And then they brought the checks out and stuff started to happen. I'm like, there's 30 minutes left in this movie. I'm like, is anything else going to happen? Because they were still building. Building. In the last 15 minutes, maybe 20, is where everything finally starts to happen. And I'm like, none of this was good. None of this was really built up. Like, you spent all this time building it, but it just didn't pay off. There was no moment where I was like, yeah, this makes sense, or yeah, I understand why they did this. And like, it made me so mad. I walked out of it and it's like, I wish we hadn't seen that. I was like, I wish we'd just seen Shazam again.
Yeah.
So for me, I've always felt like Pet Sematary was one of his films that I didn't even think was good. I didn't think the original was that good. So like when they were like, we're remaking Pet Sematary, I'm like, that's the one you're going with?
Well,
like,
I think they're riding off the Stephen King hype of it and being like, we can do any Stephen King horror.
I guess, but
I've talked to people that really like the original Pet Sematary.
A lot of people,
I didn't mind it.
It's fine.
It's just
book.
Just not.
The book is just so much better.
Everyone holds the book in such high regard that I don't think a movie could capture what the magic the book captured.
Right.
And so I thought, well, they're remaking it. I was like, well, maybe this one can. And then watching it, I was like, nope, we need to shelve this.
Yeah, I just don't feel like with all the detail that goes into that book. You can't do that.
Yeah,
I think the other problem too is when you start to ride off nostalgia like this, you're overdoing it, and this is the conversation with a lot of things right now. I could even bring up Star Wars into this whole thing, but it seems like whenever you start rushing things out or you start going off the hype, and you only have a few years gap before it kind of slows down a little bit. You just start shoving things in people's faces and stuff, and it's not an art anymore. It's more of just about marketing, and whenever it gets to that point where they're not taking as much time, or they're not picking the right directors for the role, actually running the thing, or the actors, and just they're not taking as much time. They're just trying to get some easy money kind of thing. That's what just ticks me off about, especially remakes.
Yeah. Now I will say the little girl is a good actress, and she'll go places. Nobody else I really cared for. I mean, there's the old dudes in it. I can't remember his name, but he's a really well-known actor. But he's good. But everyone else, like Jason Clarke's character and the wife, I just didn't care for. It's a 5. Actually, it's a 5. I don't really recommend you see it, but if it's on Netflix and you have time, I guess, and you're like, I just want to watch this and do it, but don't pay to see it in theaters. So, news real quick. Oh, wait, what have you been...
Yeah, so I haven't done crazy amount. I watched all of Game of Thrones basically the week before. I rewatched a couple of the last episodes just to get me ready for tonight. I watched Saving Private Ryan, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
I love Saving Private Ryan.
I hadn't seen it in years.
I still think it holds up.
One of my friends and I, every time he would come over, we'd watch that. We weren't supposed to, but we'd always sneak the movie or whatever upstairs, and we'd watch that movie. And so I watched it for the first time, and it was actually I had it in 4K, which was different. The first scene, obviously, if you guys have seen it, is D-Day.
Yeah, D-Day.
And it's actually really weird in 4K. It's very pixelated, and I don't really know why. Not pixelated, but it's like the rest of the movie is good in 4K, but they were trying to do so much in that scene that I think that they just kind of goofed up the 4K. Like,
yeah,
actually,
sometimes upscaling doesn't work as well.
yeah, exactly. The upscaling. So that was the only thing I kind of noticed, which is I've never like actually noticed too much from 4K to like something like that. But I've watched that movie so many times that I was able to notice things. I guess maybe I don't really know. But that movie always makes me really emotional, and not very many movies touch me emotionally like that. But I will say, Saving Private Ryan is like still, it just reassured me
That is like
that's
the
one of my
perfect war
favorite
movies.
Yeah, and Tom Hanks, like his performance, that is still one of my top favorite performances from him. The only thing, and this gets me every once in a while when I watch a Tom Hanks movie, I think of literally Woody. And when you start thinking about that and you start hearing his voice, all you can think about is Woody. So never do that.
There's
you guys
a
probably
snake
will now.
in my boot.
But I think the acting, and you realize that movie is like, it's aged really, really well.
It has. I watched it last year.
And you think about like how much work they did in D-Day for that 30-minute first scene.
Right, that opening scene is just. Like,
you
one
can't.
Of the best battles ever.
You know, like they did Dunkirk. Like they had some good scenes in that, but like for Saving Private Ryan, at the time that they made it, and with the effects and stuff they did, which was obviously there wasn't like any extra special like kind of. I mean, this is all more of a natural kind of feel. But when you see as gruesome as it is and how realistic that really was by accounts, like you're like, oh my gosh. And so and it's a long movie too.
it's like
but it
3
goes
hours.
by so quick.
Yeah.
When you're watching it, it's like it's probably almost 3 hours or 2.5 to 2:45
I think it's
probably.
like 2 hours and 45 minutes.
Something like that. But yeah, but I started watching it and then I looked at the clock when it was done. I was like, oh my gosh. And it was like 11:30 and I started like 8 something, but or whatever. I don't know. But anyways, I haven't probably talked to you guys about Saving Private Ryan that much, but
It's 2 hours and 49 minutes.
I was gonna say it's like right below.
I thought
3
it was
hours.
close to 3. So, but I did watch that the other day. Let's see. I watched. Let's see. I watched. Let's see. No, that was the week before. I watched the Captain America. Yeah, I guess it was the first one. Yeah, I did watch the first one last week. I'm getting all my weeks mixed up because I've kind of just been trying to watch them all. We're gonna obviously rate our Marvel.
Yeah, in the next
movies
episode.
In the next episode, but I was trying to like think about some of that a little bit, not a lot, but games. I still play Hearthstone. That's just gonna be a thing I'm gonna be doing for a while probably. MLB The Show. I almost forgot about that.
No.
We haven't got to talk about
How
that.
much?
This is a big episode for me. Okay. So, we're going to talk about MLB The Show just a little bit. We're not going to take a lot of time because we've got a lot of things to talk about.
Ryan wants to talk about Star Wars, so.
Yeah, so I'm going to be fighting. But I do want to talk about MLB The Show because we kind of missed it with us not doing an episode last week, and I had a lot to say about it then, which would have been probably the perfect time to talk about it then. But, so, MLB The Show this year compared to last year is not that great, I don't think. I think 2018 still had the best jump. The graphics, everything else is about the same. They didn't really do too many upgrades. They have. I like to play. I either like to play franchise mode, which is like the most basic thing you could probably play in MLB The Show, or the Road to the Show, which basically Road to the Show, if you don't know, and if you guys even care about baseball games at all, which probably most of you guys don't, is basically you just start out as a rookie coming out of a high school, and you can work your way up, and you can choose different routes and stuff, which I actually really think that is a really cool thing for something, even if somebody wasn't a massive baseball fan and they were just kind of into sports and they played that, like they create, like, and sports games have been doing this where they create a little bit of a story for your character.
Right.
MLB The Show doesn't focus on the story as much, which I'm kind of glad. Because they were very cheesy. It seems like, especially in NBA 2K, that one's rough a little bit. They've got good voice actors and stuff for it. But anyway, so going through that, I haven't got to try that yet. All this is very time consuming. I will say you put in a lot of hours. I've probably I've already played like 50 MLB games, which takes about 45 minutes per game. So I don't know what the calculation is on that, but that's a lot of minutes or a lot of hours, I should say. But I think they've added a few little things on franchise mode that you can kind of customize and get to have a little bit more control over on your team. But for the most part, on the game itself, I still want to try a few more modes before I give it a score. Just because when you have a game that comes out every year, those little tiny things that they add and tweak around and stuff, I've got to play the full game in all of its different modes before I can do that. Because really, if you just turned on that game from last year's game and you played one mode, you're kind of treating it not right by doing that. So I do want to play a little bit more. As far as comparing to franchise mode, I don't think it is as fluid. And they did do another patch because there was a lot of little just tiny issues. Which MLB The Show, I've never seen so many different little just lag kind of issues, and just it wasn't as fluid. And that last patch that they did finally, like it kind of helped with some of that. But there's still a little bit. The announcers didn't have too much new things to say. And I always, when you play a game for hours and hours on end, the announcers, you'll hear repeat things and stuff. And there was a lot of repeating. So I'm not really sure if they really put that much more time into adding new content on that, which is a big thing for me, because when you're putting hours and hours, you just hear the same thing. If someone hits a home run and they have like the same three like things that they say when you hit a home run, that stuff drives me nuts. Just because it's like, well,
never play a wrestling game then.
Well, exactly. And I mean, any sports game at all, whatever it is going to have some reoccurrence.
Right.
You're going to get yourself in the same situations as before.
That's why, like, when I get a WWE game, it's like every couple years that I finally buy one.
Yeah.
Just because, like, there's no changes, like, hardly ever, unless they like do
WWE. And obviously, I mean, I've played most of the WWEs. I just haven't played them near as much as you, obviously. I think with the WWE, they just need more money invested into the game itself.
I feel like 2K just doesn't care. Like,
yeah, and maybe they know exactly how much they'll sell.
Yeah.
They're like, this many copies will be sold every year, so here's exactly how much we're investing.
The thing with 2K, it's NBA 2K. Like, that's their bread and butter.
Yeah.
You
and
can see so much more passion in that game, I think, than you can. Like,
well, and they had competition for a little bit,
right,
which they barely do. It's not really. It's so... They're
non-existent, pretty much. Like,
but at one point, they were very competitive.
It sucks that Fire Pro Wrestling game never took off the way it wanted.
I wanted it to so bad. As somebody who's invested in wrestling, it's about to flip on its head because I don't mean to cut you off with what you've been watching and stuff. But,
you're good.
TBS is launching a new wrestling program called AEW, and that's going to be a big deal because it'll be the first time there's been competition for WWE in like 20 years. So that's going to be a lot of fun, and there's a lot of big names attached to that. There's even wrestlers on their current roster that are leaving to go to that promotion, so I'm like, there's a whole lot of drama going on, and I'm loving it.
I have to ask you, did you watch
I watched WrestleMania.
Okay. Yeah. I do want to know what your opinions were of the outcomes there.
I really liked that show a lot, actually. My favorite match of that entire show was actually Batista versus Triple H. I was surprised at how well Batista can still wrestle, considering he
hasn't been there in like 4 or 5 years.
He hasn't wrestled in 5 years, and then the last time that he wrestled, it had been 4 years before that. So, like, he'll go away for like 4 or 5 years, and then come back, and he's like, I'm still just as good as anybody else here on this roster. I'm like, that to me is insane. Like, the storytelling they did in that match was great. I love the moment where Triple H is like sitting on top of Batista, sitting on a folding chair, and he takes a pair of pliers and he says, "That's a nice nose ring you've got there," and he actually pulls it out. And I was like, the fact that Batista let him do that, I was like, that's insane. Like, it was a really cool match. Like, I was really proud to see Ronda Rousey put on an amazing main event at WrestleMania. That, to me, was really cool. The finish of that match, there's been a lot of controversy behind it because, according to WWE, the way that match ended was not the way they wanted it to end. Apparently, there was supposed to be a submission, but she couldn't kick out in time, and they've always said, like, if they can't kick out, just count to 3. That way, they make it look like it's still real. So, like, Ronda Rousey actually broke her hand in that match, and she kept fighting, which I was like super impressed with, because like usually what they do is they'll like stop and they'll like make sure people are okay. But she just took it. She just kept wrestling for like another 10 or 15 minutes, I think is what they said. And I was like, I can't imagine being dropped on my head or on my back or possibly on my hand again over and over and over again with a broken hand.
There's like some things that you watch, you're like, they can't fake that.
Right,
I was
no.
watching a clip where I don't even know who that guy was, but he like got thrown like over the like into the crowd almost. Like there's like a fence, like a metal.
Yeah.
And his back literally hit it. Like there's no way they could have faked that. Or,
Oh,
like,
I know what you're talking about.
absorbed that, and I was
Like-
like, what?
And then
the
he dropped like
yeah.
he dropped like another 8 feet.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be hit onto like a golf cart that was sitting there, and when he got hit, the small of his back hits the edge of the golf cart, and then he fell over and slumped over, and he landed on his head on the concrete. And I was like,
Yeah,
and he kept going.
Yeah,
I was like, that man's got to be in so much pain. How are you not dead?
And I mean,
like-
these guys are athletic type people, so
Right.
I get that they can take a hit, but like some of it's just like
Right, like
what
remember-
actually happened. Like I get that there's a lot of strategies on faking things and
Sure.
blah blah blah, but like
I
there's
remember
just
when
some
Brock
things you just
Lesnar
can't
went
fake.
to UFC and people were like, "Oh, he's just a fake wrestler. He's not going to be
Yeah.
able to do anything." And then he won the
It just-
title.
it just went
And I was
crazy.
just like, "That's a big man."
Yeah.
Like, they're tough. They literally get their bodies destroyed.
Yeah, and
hundreds
no
of
matter
days out of
what,
the
I mean,
year.
like even if you're like jumping on top of somebody, I know they have like ways to absorb the blow and stuff. Like
Right, but,
you're
like-
still getting hit. Like there's elbows still getting hit into you and stuff, and so
And yeah, people
um,
accidentally stiff you and everything, but
chairs accidentally, like get hit a little harder probably.
right. But like, WrestleMania was good. I don't watch wrestling as much as I used to when I was a kid, but
Yeah.
since I have the WWE Network, I try to check out the pay-per-views whenever there's a match that I really want to see.
Yeah.
And I was
what-
impressed with that event.
What's the Jamaican guy that won?
Kofi Kingston.
Kobe, yeah, I always forget. He has been
is-
around for a long time.
He debuted in 2008.
Yeah, I remember watching him when he was first on Next, and then he went up, and it, like,
Yeah.
but I
No,
remember watching him kind of work his way up.
Him winning the title actually almost brought a tear to my eye because people never thought that would happen for him.
Mm-hmm.
And also, Kofi Kingston, not counting The Rock because The Rock is half Samoan, Kofi Kingston is the first black man to win the WWE title in its entire history.
Wow.
So that's huge. Like,
Yeah.
it's just like, wow,
deal.
that's never happened. Like, Booker T won the World Heavyweight title, but not the WWE title. There is
Yeah.
a difference there whenever people are like, well, that person held that title. I'm like, yeah,
Well,
but
when
the
you
WWE
go through a
one is
show
the
or whatever,
main
they
one.
all have belts for different things.
Yeah.
You're like,
Right.
dude, there's a lot of championships. Like, I don't know what they're.
The problem, I could go on about
Yeah.
wrestling.
We should
but-
we should
I know,
probably
I
move
probably-
on because
I will-
Ryan's about to go on for a long time.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
probably contain it a little bit, but I did want to ask you about that because
Mania was
we hadn't
good.
got to talk about that. There's a lot of stuff going on, really. There is. I mean, you've got Star Wars news, you got Marvel's about to go crazy, Game of Thrones is going crazy. We got all these. It's just nuts.
Yeah.
All of
So
it.
let's cut in real quick to do news, and then we can ramble on about Star Wars.
Yeah.
So real quick, Disney Plus, the streaming service, gave a price and a release date and what's coming available day one.
$6.99, I believe.
$6.99 and on November 12th.
Yep.
That's all I need to know.
Yeah, really quick. The only shows that are launching with it for sure is The Mandalorian,
Big deal.
High School Musical, The Musical. That's the television show that's basically the fourth
Oh gosh.
High School Musical.
They gotta get the kids, I guess, involved.
And then Lady and the Tramp, the live action movie,
What?
is being, it'll be a Disney Plus original.
I didn't even know they were doing a live action.
There's a lot of controversy because somebody on YouTube made a comment about how I won't get into it. Grace Randolph is like the worst. Like, I don't really care for her at all. But she basically at one point said that the Tramp shouldn't be voiced by a black woman because the Tramp isn't black, and everyone was like, what? Because she's voiced by Tessa Thompson.
Oh.
That's
Yeah.
stupid.
Yeah, it's really dumb. But and then year one is like Falcon and Black Widow, or not Black Widow, Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Winter Soldier.
Clone Wars season 7,
Oh.
and then year 2 is Loki, and then Undated is like WandaVision, which is such a dumb name. But Mandalorian had a trailer that leaked.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone saw it at Celebration, but then they said it was too early, so they didn't release it online. But I looked at it, or I found it.
Yeah, it was out there quite a bit. So.
Visually, one of the most stunning things
Yeah.
I've ever seen.
I was wondering for a second, like, am I like seeing this right?
Yeah.
Like, is this because it's so early? But I was very impressed. With,
It looks like a
look of
movie.
it,
Like
yeah.
I was.
if it's that quality
Well,
throughout
it's
the
the
whole show.
to my understanding, this is the biggest budget for any television show, even over Game of Thrones. $100 million for the series.
That would not surprise me at all.
I think Game of Thrones' budget is $10 million an episode, so I think it's the same.
Yeah.
But like,
It's 10 million in it.
yeah, but like I was like, oh my gosh, and it looks beautiful.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch on that. I mean, like we haven't seen anything official. Like that was official there, but like there's been nothing online. So I mean,
I'm
seeing it on
assuming-
somebody's
Yeah.
on their phone as they're moving around trying to avoid security
Yeah.
is
As
like.
someone who hasn't seen anything on it yet, do you think it's about Boba Fett or is it just?
No,
The
it's about a
Mandalorian in
new. It's
general?
about so they confirmed it takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi
Okay.
with a character that I don't remember his name, but there's a bunch of like Taika Waititi's voicing somebody.
Yeah.
Is it IG-88?
Yes.
Is that from
Yeah.
Knights of the Old Republic?
Yeah.
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 that's
Yeah.
the whole-
And then they basically, it sounds like everybody's a new character. Carl Weathers was officially confirmed to be in it
Ooh.
as a new. It's basically a bounty hunter. They
Yeah.
said the first episode is him just collecting bounties and then getting brought into the bigger picture of whatever the like arc will be of the season.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which,
I'm into that.
if they're having that big of a budget, like you know it's going to be good.
Yeah.
Wow. Bounty hunters, like in the books and stuff, are really interesting in the
Yeah.
books. Star Wars has never really done very well, in my opinion, with bounty hunters in general. Like
Excuse me, Cad Bane from the Clone Wars series was awesome.
I meant like live action.
Oh, live
but
action, no.
Yeah. Well, I think Boba Fett is one of the most overrated characters, so I'm glad the Mandalorian is not on him.
I've never. That's actually one.
I agree. That's why I asked. I was like, please tell me it's not Boba Fett.
I think Boba looks cool, but
He
like,
has a cool
That's
backstory in the books, in the like the lore, basically.
He falls into the same Sarlacc pit in the extended
Yeah.
universe 3 separate times.
that's his weakness. But I just want to bring it up.
They
There's
just
no
cut it out of
official trailer
Tatooine.
for it.
It's his kryptonite.
So, but I'm curious, and we don't know a whole lot about it, but a lot of it is very practical. And then they talked about, and I just thought this was kind of cool. So all the stormtroopers that were on set were fans. They didn't
Yeah.
tell them they were filming The Mandalorian.
That's
They
so
basically
cool.
said, hey, they're an official 501 troop. They like meet up for like pictures and stuff, and they do a lot of stuff with Disney. And so Jon Favreau was like, hey, we need you guys to come do this like Star Wars stuff. And they're like, all right. And then they got there, and like they said they watched them react to like things they brought out in the world to see if they were doing a good job, because these are like the hardcore of hardcore
yeah.
Star Wars fans. I was like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But Mandalorian will be there day one, so I'm super excited for that. That was like, which sucks because that and Fallen Order come out in the same week.
Ooh.
So I'm supposed to watch Mandalorian in 3 days and then play Jedi Fallen
I think
Order.
what we're getting with
It could be
Marvel
done.
right now, they're about to like go 200% with Star Wars, just
Yeah.
all at the same time. It's gonna be a fun time.
I'm kind of
Yes.
worried about that.
But they also said that after Episode 9, there will be a 5-year break on movies.
Yeah, I don't buy it,
I do.
to be honest. I think that they need to have somewhat of a break, but at the same time, like standalone.
I don't know.
I could see them being released on Disney Plus instead of being.
I
in
can see.
theaters.
I heard the Obi-Wan movie has been canceled for a series.
I'd
Yeah.
prefer a series over a movie anyway.
But this is all, I mean, that's all speculation.
Yeah,
'cause-
I don't buy that there's gonna be a 5-year gap. I get that shows they're gonna have a lot of obvious that they're gonna be investing in. Probably, I bet they'll come out with 2 or 3 live action
Yeah.
shows and that'll be kind of their.
I mean, it's going
sweet
to at
spot.
least be 2
But
years.
I agree that
Yeah.
it'll be at least a 2 year. 5 years is gonna be a stretch for me. Now, I think on like a trilogy kind of base, I think standalone films, I think they still need to go with those. And my reasoning for that is because true Star Wars fans, there is so much to see and so much, and the fact that they're not going with an Obi-Wan film, unless they're going to surprise us, kind of thing, which I can see that
Right.
happening. With as much demand for it and as much people as want, I mean that will be the day if an Obi-Wan film actually comes out. He's my favorite character in Star Wars. Like if that actually came out, I don't need to see anything else ever again.
Right.
Listen, All I want is a story about Watto.
Shut up.
Okay.
He needs a
Zach,
full movie.
Get out.
But like for real though, like if you sat down, I mean, like they had to look at Solo's box office performance, and whether you want to argue that was released at the wrong time, doesn't matter. At the end of the day,
it did not make what they were
almost nothing. It was actually considered a loss. They lost $80 million on it.
Yeah.
So like at the end of the day, like if they looked at just that, and depending on how episode 9 does, I think really that's the make or break. If episode 9 does like amazing, then I think they were wrong. They'll turn around and just start pumping them out.
I think the main thing is because with how episode 8 went and how it split up the fans, they've never really seen such a
outcry.
an outcry.
Well,
for
different.
Okay.
Different
Yes.
time
Here's the
because
thing.
like prequels. If there
When
was
the prequels
internet,
came out, people would have been.
And you're probably right with that because of the practical effects, but you have to. Everybody forgets that when that started coming out first, like it was crazy. But like back then, everybody thought that was cool.
See, now people, I think,
It just
are
did
at
not
the point
age
where they're
well.
like, no, the prequels are good. Like, stop with this new stuff. Like,
The
I
writing,
keep seeing that
yeah, the writing,
all over the place.
the writing is so cringy for it. But at the same
Yeah.
time, there was a lot of cringy things going on during that time. Think about all the music we were listening to.
oh,
You go
well,
back-
what I'm
but-
saying is like the outcry you see for Last Jedi.
I will defend the prequels to a certain extent.
But like the outcry you see for Last Jedi, you probably would have seen back then to an extent. But there wasn't. We're all so much more connected now with Twitter, Facebook,
Right.
Twitter,
and
and all that.
I agree with
Yeah.
that. Like, I'm not disagreeing with
Yeah.
that. When
And I
you
get it.
have-
I've seen
when
the
you
videos of people
when-
walking out and being like,
when
"Phantom
you-
Menace is really good."
what-
I'm like, you're wrong.
when you read people's things, opinions, it sways you a little bit. Even
Yeah.
if you don't want to admit it, you're
Right,
going
no,
to.
I do
if,
think
if
that
someone
the internet does have
if,
a level of effect on people's
if
opinions.
maybe not Star Wars for me, but if I think a movie's okay or it's pretty good, not great, and someone's just trashing it, most likely you're going to start looking for those flaws in that movie, and then before you know it, you reevaluate it, and maybe it went down a point for you at that point. Not always, but if you think, well, you know, you don't feel so strongly about it or something like that, then. But that's what happens with people. I think if you get that the prequels a little bit more push for them, if episode 9 falls, I really think that like people will have more appreciation, especially for Revenge of the Sith, because that one's
That's the only good one of the prequels.
yeah.
I don't mind Phantom Menace.
It's not.
It's not.
It's the
best
worst
Star
of
Wars
all
film.
of them.
Phantom Menace? No, Clone Wars.
Of
is
the
the worst.
second worst of all of them.
No.
What do you think is worse than Phantom Menace? Outside of Attack of the Clones.
Okay,
So
me
wait,
out
do you
on
guys
this.
both agree that Attack on?
I think Attack of the Clones is the worst one.
I do too. I think that the beginning of Return of the Jedi sucks.
But you think overall, Return of the Jedi as a full movie is worse than Phantom Menace?
The only
Look
parts
me in
of-
the eyes and say that Return of the Jedi is worse than Phantom Menace.
Okay, I like all the stuff with Darth Vader and like Luke and the Emperor, but
Are you?
the Ewoks and Jabba the Hutt, I can't stand watching Return of the Jedi. I'm not saying that it ruins that movie for me, but I appreciate more things overall, minus like Jar Jar and young Anakin, in Phantom Menace than I do overall Return of the Jedi. That sounds really bad, but I do still think that Phantom Menace is a bad movie. Like,
So you tell me,
I love Qui-Gon that much, and Darth Maul, and I love a lot of the story in that movie. I love the fighting in that movie. That has my favorite lightsaber fight, so I'm a little biased. Like, objectively speaking,
The one,
It-
the
it is
only
not
thing
as
I
good.
can defend Zach on before I get angry is the action scenes. I love the lightsaber fighting, obviously, in the prequels, and that's like when I was little. That's what you look for,
Right.
That's like the cool thing. So
Also,
when you
keep
get
in
Darth
mind-
Maul with a double-sided lightsaber, even though he didn't really act, he didn't really do too much. He did some flips and they got cut in half.
listen,
Sorry for the spoilers, guys.
Phantom Menace was also my first Star Wars film. I will say that first. So I'm super biased.
What
towards that
I'm
movie.
saying as a movie quality, though,
the emotion between Vader and Luke at the end of
Right, no,
all
and
of that,
that's-
all of the.
I don't care. Like,
If it was just
So-
that, it would be the best Star Wars movie.
you know what
to
the
me,
you know what
actually.
the probably the first film I actually remember in theaters is Attack of the Clones, and I barely remember that. But Revenge of the Sith was like my movie.
Yeah.
But when you rewatch everything and you go from that, like Revenge of the Sith as being your like top tier, and then you go to A New Hope and it's like super dry and stuff at the very beginning, and then you have to like watching it now. If we critiqued it and you had never seen it, like the first trilogy,
yeah.
you cannot argue with anything that's going on in there because it's a trilogy itself. The prequels,
Right.
is, the prequels.
This is quickly just becoming Star Wars rant.
Oh my gosh, I cannot. Can we just move on to talking about?
I'm
Lion
screaming so
King
hard
or-
with you guys.
No, gosh, I don't know where to
believe
start.
you guys felt for that bait.
Yeah, Zach, don't.
Because I would have believed you. Because I believe that you would believe that. Because Ewoks suck.
I know the Ewoks suck. I was doing that on purpose just to see what you guys would do. That was fun. No, I think Phantom of the Menace is bad. I love Qui-Gon, but that's like it. Like, and Darth Maul, like that fight I really like, but there is not a whole lot in that movie that like I like to watch.
Okay, since Zach pissed me off, let's just talk about.
We need to talk about the trailer.
Yeah, Ryan needs to get his. Actually, hold on, let's do this real quick. Hold yourself back for a second. Me and Zach are going to talk about, because Ryan is actually deep in the Star Wars lore and has said a lot of things already that I'm like, this is going to take a little bit. Mm-hmm. So let's put him in the corner for a second.
Okay.
Just calm down. I know I made you
Based
sad.
on, since we've like expanded lore stuff I'm very vague on.
Me too.
Overall, this trailer, I'm a movie guy and I've played some of the games. And I know I've watched the Clone Wars and Rebels.
Yeah.
So like, I thought the trailer was really good.
I did too.
Love the opening with Rey doing the flip over the
ship.
TIE fighter.
Yeah, that was really cool.
Seeing the fallen Death Star was awesome. Mm-hmm. And then hearing Palpatine's laugh at the end.
Yep.
It was a great teaser.
That right there brought everybody back who hated Last Jedi, I think.
Great teaser that I don't. The name's kind of growing on me. But at first I was like, I don't really like the Rise of Skywalker. But depending on what it means, because either Rey's taking on the name, or Ben is going to accept that like he is a Skywalker to an extent. And so, but overall, I like the teaser a lot. I mean, I can't talk about as much as he can. So we're trying to just get our like little things out of the way before Ryan goes into full
wild theory territory for why it's called that. I think that Ben is going to die, and then because she's lost Ben Solo and Luke Skywalker, she's going to rename the Jedi the Skywalkers, and that's why it's called the Rise of the Skywalkers.
I have heard that too.
I do think that might happen, and they'll just start calling the Jedi Skywalkers.
Before Ryan gets into his crazy theories, I like at the beginning when Luke goes, weave.
Yeah.
Weave.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we see Hayden Christensen back. Ewan McGregor and Yoda, and like it's just a moment where it's like all of them talking with her.
I want them to force project behind her as she's standing in front of Kylo, and we see the chair turn around, and that's where we hear the Palpatine laugh, and they just all of a sudden come in, they just start rushing in to fight the Emperor.
What if it's every Jedi ever?
I would lose my freaking mind.
Liam Neeson's there, Mace Windu.
He was always supposed to reprise his role like as a ghost, and he never did. So
And Samuel L. Jackson has repeatedly said that he would definitely
Do Mace Windu again.
Mace Windu.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so unless you have any closing thoughts on that, we're gonna let Ryan basically.
I feel like I've been going back and forth on them revealing Palpatine.
I think
Please don't talk too much about it.
my quick thought would
I know
be,
that you've got a lot to say.
my quick thought would be is that it's not that big of a deal, and so it's revealing, hey, like there's gonna be something involving that, like Snoke might have been Palpatine or something.
That's what I've been thinking.
All right, let's
But
let him out of the cage.
let's let him out of
He's
the
shaking
cage.
over there.
He's losing it. He's been glaring at me too.
Okay. No, that's you ruined it with the whole prequel thing. So you hurt me.
I know where to strike now.
We're going to go off of Darth Sidious real quick, okay?
Right.
Or Palpatine, whatever you want to call him.
Sure.
His laugh. I have a couple of strong theories that I think of what is. I did mention a little bit to you whenever I called you on the phone immediately right after the trailer went out. And I wanted to tell you something real quick, and you didn't follow, and that's okay.
I was ordering at McDonald's.
It doesn't matter. McDonald's doesn't matter when the trailer comes out. They can wait. You can show them the trailer because they probably didn't get to see it.
They definitely heard my car playing it.
Good. They need that.
Gets them through the day.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Or it's painful because they can't see it. They just hear it. And they're like, what's going Or they just don't care. Anyways, Palpatine. So, I agree with Brandon probably that it's probably not a big deal on his laugh and that they're more of a teaser and they're just trying to get us hyped up for maybe nothing. But I also think that with them calling it the Rise of the Skywalkers, there's a couple things. The theory that you guys kind of mentioned touched on one of the things I was going to talk about with them calling them instead Jedi Skywalkers because how they view Jedi and everything. We're about to go through a transition probably that Jedi are not
right
in the dark side and the light side. There's like the gray force. I mentioned that to you a little bit probably about 2 years ago when we were starting to talk about this.
No, we talked about it probably before Last Jedi.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I've got a lot of things that I'm trying to get this all correlated here. Emperor Palpatine.
You can see the gears moving.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
He's a clone.
Well, so Palpatine in the comics had in books was able to project himself into other people as Force Ghost.
Okay, so we're gonna start there then.
Yeah, I knew that.
So yeah, there's a few things. He can project himself. He made clones of himself.
And he made a clone of Luke, right? Didn't he make a clone of Luke?
His hand or something?
There's like some weird. There's a whole bunch of weird stuff. Like I'm trying to cycle through what's probably not going to happen and what's going to happen. There's a chance that he actually made because he had several clones of himself, so he could never technically die, and he would just possess the clone.
Darth Plagueis the Wise.
Yeah. Which obviously, whenever in Revenge of the Sith, he's talking to Anakin about all that. That is almost foreshadowing. Now, George Lucas, at the very end of this episode, to conclude this whole trilogy, whatever you want to call it, because all this is just one story for the Skywalkers, which is very interesting that they call it the Rise of the Skywalkers and nothing else. It's called the Rise, not the end or like a conclusion kind of thing, which is why I think the whole Jedi theory is actually probably accurate because they're done with the Skywalker stuff, or they've repetitively said that, which they need to be out of that, I think. So they brought George Lucas back in to end this bad boy, which is really, really cool that he got to help with the ending and make sure it's the right ending, which that's the best move that they could have made. J.J. Abrams was very wise to bring George Lucas back into this to make sure
he worked with him on 7, didn't he?
I think Abrams had final say where this is a different case.
As this one, George, and they mentioned a little bit in the live conference that they had worked with George Lucas a little bit, and there's been some rumors that he's been out and about doing some of this stuff. I wish he actually came out on stage. That would have been
probably where he would just start spoiling stuff. So
yeah, maybe
they're like, I didn't want them to do this with Luke. They ruined it. He's just screaming and swearing and ripping things apart.
It would be a little bit of a stretch. I don't see them having him do the whole clone. Where he had the multiple clones. I could see them maybe doing that in this movie. They don't really go deep into any lore so far that I've seen, in these last 2 episodes. What I do kind of see is if, and you guys probably know, obviously the Death Star's under or whatever.
Yeah, which it was crazy because when I watched on my phone, I was like, that's just a rock. And I put it on my TV, I'm like, oh, that's the Death Star.
Yeah,
I was that's the Death Star.
Yeah, it took me a second to realize that was the Death Star.
I think, obviously, they're, visiting the Death Star because they're going to see something. Obviously, his throne room is down there. She's going to go down there, hear some voices. It's kind of like when she touched the lightsaber or whatever. And it's probably going to be him talking to her or tempting her to do something, which we've had the theory. We've talked about this multiple times that Rey actually goes to the dark side. And that's been a strong fan theory of...
Yeah, which everyone said they wish Abrams had done all of them because it should have been that Rey was a descendant of Palpatine and that Kylo was a descendant of Luke. Or no,
and that it's still reversed.
Yeah. And so he starts on dark, switches the light. She starts on light, switches the dark.
Now we've confirmed that she's not coming back for any more movies.
Well, they're all just to be clear, all of them are going to say that.
I'm pretty sure she's not coming back, which is interesting because there's a chance. I don't see them doing this, and this is a big debate that we had with The Last Jedi right before The Last Jedi came out, I believe, when we talked about if she was going to go to the dark side or not. And
I thought that she was in that movie.
I was really hoping.
Yeah, but I could see them doing kind of a whole full plot twist. And her doing something just absolutely crazy, and he takes over and literally flip.
Basically, she just slaughters the rebellion.
Yeah,
It could happen.
Well, I don't see that, but
Kylo slaughters the remains of the First Order. She slaughters the remains of the rebellion, and then they join together.
Yeah.
And they are the Skywalkers.
Yeah.
And it cuts to black.
Biggest downside is that they confirmed no more shirtless Adam Driver, so
Yeah.
it's very upsetting.
Yeah.
How dare they? With his high water pants.
So, I think something happens down there. You've probably heard of Snoke having the ring, whatever.
Yeah, the ring on Snoke's hand is part of Palpatine, and so that was
Yes.
like that's Force powers.
Which
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's him controlling Snoke. Snoke may have never really been anything besides
Right, it was
him
just Palpatine the
controlling.
whole time.
Yeah,
I actually
that's
said
why
that.
I think whenever he got sliced in half, like obviously if you're that strong, that was my biggest problem with Last Jedi. Like if you're like that powerful,
Right.
like you would not have let that happen. I don't care who you are at that point. You would have not been fooled. Probably.
I told myself leaving the theater, I was like, maybe that's Snoke's way of testing Kylo to finally make sure that he's pushed over the edge.
So I think,
which I think he is now. Like I don't see any redeeming for Kylo at this point.
You had the shock factor in the theater when that happened, but that was it. I wasn't even that shocked, to be honest. And the thing was like this is nothing. Like,
I wasn't shocked. I was disappointed. That was kind of where I was at.
I was like, I'm ready for Snoke to fight.
So, and the thing is with JJ kind of not being in that movie, I think the 8th movie was going to just be a hard story to tell in itself. I think that was the biggest challenge, probably, is because and why I think that, and why I think it was just so weird, besides the weird humor thing that was going on, which bothers me probably more than anything else, actually, is the reason why I think is because they're getting ready to have this major plot twist for this movie, and they're trying to set up everything where it's completely to get us in a different mindset. And that's what I really think was the struggle of like doing the writing and stuff to get everything set up perfectly for this episode, if that makes sense. I think if you go to the first scene, I wish we had like a video just like in the background where I could go play by play. Where they're talking about so that's not like the ship that's coming at her or whatever. That's not his personal ship.
A lot of people think that he stole it and they're training her.
Yeah, and that's not his personal ship because everybody I read a few things. That's not his ship.
Yeah.
It's a different ship. And I should know this off the top of my head. I'm not very good with ship names in Star Wars, but I always get them all mixed up.
I do too.
But we haven't seen that. I don't think we've seen that specific ship yet, which is interesting because that's a big thing, especially for George Lucas when he would do ships and stuff and like what he would introduce and stuff. You could read a lot probably about that, which was interesting. So they could have stole that. They could have, who knows, on that. But obviously I am interested to see what kind of scenes that she has in this. They did confirm that they have all the main characters go on an adventure together, which is very interesting.
Well, it means they'll all be together for one movie finally.
Yes.
Yeah, that's never happened. So
it's only taken these two.
But what happens when you get a whole bunch of major character in any movie?
Somebody gonna die.
Well, someone's gonna die, but there's gonna be a plot twist. Whenever you have that much going on, something is going to happen unexpectedly. This is why I think there's a chance that Rey could do something a little wild, or she goes down there and they're all together or whatever, and then she comes up and it's a slaughter time and Anakin flashbacks, little Padawans.
Do you think Rey just murders all of her friends?
It's just all of them, cleans them out. We're like,
they're like,
she's
are
like,
you okay, Rey? She's like, I am the Senate.
She's like, what are you doing next?
Like, what's the
fake
Senate?
Rose. She just picks Rose up, chokes her, and like flings her into the throne room. Like,
some people probably wouldn't complain about that.
No, they wouldn't. Which, like,
I feel the actress is good. The character was bad.
They didn't do it very
the way
good.
They treated her.
Yeah.
Just like I hated the way that people treated the guy who played Jar Jar Binks.
Well, and I'm not talking about her. It's just like
Right.
writing
Her
for her
character
character
was
herself
not
is just
good.
not
Right.
good.
No, I'm just like.
And they had a very weird plot line with her, and like what they're gonna do with her now is gonna be very interesting. They could save her character, maybe, but
There's a very good chance that they could, because knowing that people hated her
if
so
she
much, they
has
might want to
the one thing too
her.
is they could have tweaked it a little bit since she had so much hate, where she has a bigger factor in this movie.
Yeah,
and I
she
don't
does
want
something
that
really
at all.
important.
But in the Star Wars world, those little characters that kind of come in, they have a major impact on the actual storyline.
Yeah.
Just they have that one little thing.
Yeah.
And so I see her doing something that probably ultimately, and I'm calling it now, she could be the person that like actually saves like something major that happens.
She could be part of the next generation of Force users.
And yes.
Oh dear God.
I was actually going to get into that. They've kind of played around with that. Obviously, that anybody could learn the Force, not just
Which a lot of people are
special
mad
gifted.
because that was like the whole premise of The Last Jedi, and then this one's just called The Rise of Skywalker, which again could mean a lot of things. People
Yeah.
judging it prematurely really pissed me off. So
Right. Like
I'm trying to keep an open mind with this because there's a lot of different ways that they can go with it, which I kind of like going through these theories and stuff. Let's see. What else do I need to talk about?
I mean, the trailer honestly doesn't show that much.
it doesn't.
No,
it
it
doesn't
doesn't.
show. I had another big thing I was going to go
I love
on a
that they
rant
showed
about.
Lando.
Yeah,
Like,
Lando's
Oh
cool.
yeah, Lando.
He's,
Okay,
he's confirmed.
when
Like
he's
they
in
weren't
the,
just saying.
you
that's
realize
his-
he's in the Falcon now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, dude, I wish Harrison Ford would have gotten to be with him one last time, just running into one.
Force
mention.
Ghost. Harrison Ford. Here's the Force Ghost. So, like anyone can use the Force. He's like,
I'd be so mad.
yo, I'm getting paid $100 billion to do this cameo.
No,
Um,
for me, I'm just like, I think the Millennium Falcon is finally going to be destroyed.
Oh, this is it.
Like I think we're going to see it go down.
We're going to have so much closure in this movie.
Chewbacca's going to die. I think he'll go down flying the ship like in a space battle.
That I actually could, if it's a sacrificial kind of thing.
Yeah.
For the closure of his old pal, going to be with his old pal kind of thing.
Right.
I can see that. But also I'm just thinking about how much death that there could be in this movie. This is still a Star Wars movie, and yeah, it gets serious and stuff, but there's not a lot of death. Like if there's a death, it's one major character, and then that's it. I mean, there's not like just a
Order 66.
They killed a lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people died
okay,
there.
yeah, but I'm talking about
Grievous, Dooku, Mace Windu.
that is true to a certain extent, but I mean,
I get what you mean, main characters,
Right.
but
I mean, true main
I
characters
think we'll
that
see
have
like
long
one main
lasted.
character die.
They've obviously, like for storytelling purposes, they kill off like certain things to have a chain reaction for other things.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, Order 66 had to happen because
Right.
that created the whole like next trilogy. Like, I mean, that's
right.
and which, to be fair, this is the last movie of the trilogy that they could dramatically, and they can do whatever they want at this point. Like, I mean, I think they have to be
genuinely
careful
think that
with-
Chewbacca will die flying the Millennium Falcon, and maybe Lando will go with him.
just a quick heads up. While we're recording this, Clone Wars news is happening, so they're planning on it. They should be announcing a release date very soon.
Okay.
So I'm trying to keep up with it because Celebration
Yeah.
is still going on.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I think overall the trailer. The problem is you can speculate forever.
Right. We don't
name-
really know
we
anything.
can't. I don't think there's anything for certain. Star Wars has teased at a lot of things before.
And Abrams trailers do really well not spoiling anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a master. He's one of the best at not spoiling anything.
Yeah.
So, that's the hardest part for a Star Wars fan is because there's
Yeah.
so much lore out there, and there's so many different ways that this could go down.
Right.
Well, right. Like I looked back on the Force Awakens trailers, and honestly, it does show a lot of stuff from the end. But if you didn't know, like, if you hadn't seen the movie,
Yeah.
like in context, in the trailer context, you're like, okay, this could have happened at any point.
Well, you even think about like when they find the Death Star, like where is that in the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because,
Where is that?
Is that one of the first things that they do, or is it at the very end and they find something at the very end and something crazy happens? And
I would
that's
have
it?
to think that's early on,
You,
Maybe.
you would think
Myself.
so.
or maybe midway through, like Act 2. I don't see that being the end.
But overall, I mean, like I like the trailer a lot.
Yeah,
Last Jedi, I was like, it's middle
There
of the road.
was one thing that I heard people complaining about, and they were like, Rey's lightsaber, like, because of how that lightsaber just got destroyed in Episode 8. They were like, how'd she fix it?
We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see.
know.
The movie's
And I'm
coming
like-
out. The internet can wait and calm itself down, which it
No.
never does. And I'm
The internet is always
when
just
I'm
an-
mad, I'm there too. I get it, but
the internet is just
Yeah.
an angry
I mean,
person.
I want to see a little bit more footage before I start trying to put piece too
I
much
just
together.
wanna- yeah,
'Cause there's
that's-
just so much. The
Episode
thing that
9 will be a 10 out of
the
10.
best thing about this is that Palpatine's back in some way or form.
Yeah.
and he's behind all this, and it gives closure no matter what from Episode 1 to Episode 9.
yeah.
And this is the end. And he was behind it the whole time, from him being in the Senate all the way to here. And if you can't appreciate that, then I mean,
That Star Wars just isn't for you.
This is the end
Yeah.
of the Skywalkers. At the beginning
Yeah.
of the day, he started it
Yep.
and ended it.
and he
So,
saw the very
like-
beginning in episode 1, and that's like the prequels become 10 times more important. I think.
Yeah,
with
because
this
they,
coming to an
they
end.
connect with...
Secretly, Abrams has loved the prequels and is like, I'm gonna justify them.
This is brings
I wouldn't be
Jar Jar
surprised.
Binks comes back and like.
I remember people thought Jar Jar Binks might have been involved in Rogue One. Like, there
Oh,
was a
yeah.
big theory about it, being that he was the only person left from Anakin's past that might have been able to
I'm
convince him
excited
to
too
stop.
because the prequels, like the people that don't like the prequels and the people that maybe don't like the original trilogy for whatever reason, maybe for the effects itself, I don't know. I feel like this is going to tie in both of those bases a little bit. Like everybody likes Star Wars, like everyone's going to be skeptical of anything, and when you have hardcore fan bases.
Yeah, their fans are the best and worst fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think, and if JJ can master this, then he's the best there is because
Yeah,
this
I think
is
as
you're
much
dealing with the light and the fire of
Yeah.
like every single fan out
Right.
there.
I know a lot
Um,
of people who really like Last Jedi, and then I know people who think it's the worst Star Wars film.
yeah,
So it's like-
but that's the problem, and that was because of there's a lot of problems with it, but there's also when I walked out of that theater.
I still
I
really
literally
liked
told
it.
Brandon over and over, I don't know what to think. To this day, I cannot tell you what I think about that
I
movie.
think by the time 9 comes
I
out,
have so
and
many
you've
like
seen
weird
it,
issues with it, but I can't pinpoint it because I don't know what's about to happen.
Right.
And if that's what I keep on telling everybody, episode 9 will define episode 8 because
think-
there's setup stuff that I don't know what exactly
Yeah.
they're trying
I think
to do.
people will look back on Last Jedi after 9 comes out, and they'll be like, "I was wrong. That movie was better than I thought because of the stuff that they do in."
or they're like,
Mine.
or they're gonna
Or they're never
rally
gonna-
and be like, man, Abrams really should have done all three.
Yeah. Well, I think they'll do that either way.
Yeah,
But I think back
Which
to just
I-
some interviews that I've read from when Empire Strikes Back came out. Did you know that George Lucas actually apologized for that film because of how bad it
I
was
know a lot of
received?
people hated. I know a lot of people hated Empire. That's everyone's
Right.
argument when we argue Last Jedi.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, you've got to wait because there's a trilogy. So, like, I have to think that Disney had some overall say into what, like, Rian Johnson and J.J. Abrams did because they were like, well, we're doing 3 movies. We want this.
Yeah,
So, within
one-
those confines, Rian Johnson just did whatever he wanted to do. Now, was he supposed to do 9?
no,
Rian
it had
Johnson,
always
or
been
was
a
it-
different director. Colin Trevor, who did the Jurassic World movies, was supposed to do it, and then they fired him.
Huh.
So
Thank
that brought
God.
Abrams back.
That's
Thank God.
that's weird.
I would have had. I don't know if I don't know how
Yeah.
that would have went.
But
They just ended with a Rancor fighting a T-Rex.
I do want to mention one more thing.
yeah, we'll wrap it up with this because if not, it'll just be theories. I get that. That's
Now,
cool.
I do want to mention one more thing. This movie, obviously, we compare, like, episode 7 to episode 4, blah blah blah, episode 8 to Empire Strikes Back. Think about this episode. Think about episode 6, and I want you to also think about episode 3 on how each one of those trilogies end.
Right.
Very depressing, hopeful. So this has got to be depressing again, right?
I think it,
I think this
wanna,
one will just
I
get-
seriously think that the prequels, and they've mentioned, people have mentioned that the prequels are going to be mentioned a lot more in this episode than any other episode in this trilogy.
Right, like Darth Sidious specifically will be mentioned probably quite a bit. Like,
Yeah, and he's been hinted in every episode. So,
Yeah.
So
he was
he had a
even
one line
being
in
dropped in.
in the Force Awakens. So
and then
uh,
Last Jedi, they also had Luke specifically talked about how the Jedi at the height of their hubris
yeah,
fell
he
towards Sidious.
he mentions the whole like class.
Right,
and
so like
everything.
Sidious is still around.
Yeah,
Like so
his
for
name
me,
is being mentioned. So just softly, but it's such a big Darth Sidious literally took over the whole galaxy, and so everybody knows him or of him. But anyways, what I was saying is you think of Revenge of the Sith and how everybody goes into hiding, everybody runs out and stuff, and then you start all over with A New Hope. And then they talk about how this is the end of the franchise, or not the end of the franchise itself, but basically the end of the Skywalker saga, which I think, in realistic, this is the end of the Star Wars franchise part, like the core of its franchise. And if you're gonna have a 5-year reboot on an actual trilogy kind of thing, man, I don't know how you're gonna follow up something that's such a story arc that spans 40 years. So they've only edited 30 minutes of this film, but I would pay a lot of money to go see that 30 minutes of edited film. But I don't know. I still am a little mixed. As much as I love Star Wars and stuff, I'm still a little bit kind of mixed on. The trailer looks good.
Mm-hmm.
It got me excited, but I'm very interested because they're playing with a lot of weird story arcs here.
Yeah.
And they could really turn this into a bad deal quick if they mess it up. Now, obviously, The Force Awakens was good, so I believe in JJ.
Yeah.
But he has so much pressure to like do this right.
They're just gonna bring back every character ever, and they're all just gonna like
Well, and
stand
we
in
didn't
front of
even
the
talk
camera and
about
just
Princess
clap and say
Leia.
congratulations.
Yeah, I mean,
We didn't talk about Carrie Fisher. Yeah, I mean, which is insane.
That's true.
But they had to reenact everything with the footage that she had, and so
well,
they
they worked around the footage.
yeah, well, exactly. But like when they're hugging in that one little tiny clip that we saw,
That I believe
That
is
never
Force
exi- that was
That's
never-
in Force Awakens.
huh?
It's a cut scene from Force Awakens.
So
Yeah.
they used that from that, but she's like wearing different clothes and stuff, so they had to like actually edit the clothes and stuff
Yeah.
on her and stuff. But I'm just saying that's like
Well,
I'm
it's
really
cool, and I like
intrigued how
seeing-
they are gonna do that.
I'm gonna wait and see because it depends on how much she's actually in it. How much
She's
they're
probably
like.
in like 2 scenes.
That's what I'm curious about. If they're
Well,
like have her
and-
show up for like one scene where she's
You-
like, yeah, you need to go.
just that. I'm just saying.
It is.
There is so well, yeah. The editing and stuff is going to be, and which they did pretty good with. Tarkin was interesting.
Tarkin and Leia looked rough, but they said they would never use a CGI character. They said that was out of the question.
Yeah, and they said that they promised the fans that because Tarkin was rough a little bit. Leia, yeah,
Yeah, she was there too quick, and so it didn't matter.
it wasn't enough. I will say that, I think she's going to go out quick. They're going to have to.
I don't think they kill her. I think she's just there, and then like she just lives out her day. Like I think she just shows up for 2 scenes and then is gone.
She's
Yeah.
gone in her sleep. She just goes in her sleep.
She pulls a Yoda. They find
I
her in
wouldn't
a
be
cave or
surprised
whatever,
actually.
and
Like she just fades away.
Yeah, into the Force.
Like
Yeah, which I can see that. And if you look at the
Luke will be standing there and he'll literally just come and get
Okay,
her.
well not.
I'm kidding.
But
they're
anyway,
going to have a ceremony or whatever, and then all the Force Ghosts will be there just like celebrating.
I could see Luke showing up to like her funeral or something in the movie, and like Rey will see him, and he'll be like, "She would want you to go" or something, and they
Yeah.
talk about like that being the.
I could
reason for
see
her-
that being the stress of the pool of what to do at that point, and
Her
she
passing
gives her
away.
that last bit of advice and then dies or something like that, and
Maybe.
then that directs the rest of the plot.
Right.
but we should wrap it up. Not that I don't love talking about this, but I think we're gonna do a huge, probably before episode 9 comes out, episode talking
yeah.
about
what we think will happen.
It'll be an all-day event.
Ryan
We'll be live
will have notes. He'll have like all his theories on the
Straight
wall.
up PowerPoints.
But thank you for listening. I know we missed the Lion King trailer. It was good. Except for the movie, there's really not much more.
Scar is great. I don't
There's
care
not
what
much more
people
to say
say.
about it. It looks great.
It looks fine.
But
Lions do have black hair, but they decide not to do
He
it.
looks like a freaking evil lion. I love the way he looks.
But thank
He
you for
looks a
listening.
little weird.
Thank you for listening. I'm almost starting an argument. Thank you for listening. Thank you for checking us out. Make sure you follow us on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Make sure you like our pages, share our content. Any plug? Jittery Jackanape at Twitch TV.
Twitch.tv/JitteryJackanape, where we will go into why Phantom Menace is the best Star Wars. Thank you and good night. I'm kidding.